Hot Garbage is a strategic, punchy game for 2 or 4 players where you light fires, burn cards to score, and fling abilities back and forth, all while trying to be the first player to score 10 points and win the game. Here's a quick look at how to set up and play a 2-player match. For more detailed rules, be sure to download and read through the full instruction booklet. So setup is quick and easy. First, give each player 2 wood and fire tracking cards. These are double-sided cards that you'll eventually be placing onto your empty burn slots and then rotating them to track how much wood or how much fire burn time you have in each slot. You start the game with both burn slots empty, however, so set these aside for now. Then, shuffle the remaining 50 ability cards and place them face down between players to create the draw deck, leaving room for a discard pile. Now deal each player a 5-card hand and pick a player to go first. Before we dive into the flow of gameplay, let's look at how the main cards work. Every card in Hot Garbage has multiple uses, and you can play each card in 4 different ways. First, you can use a card to add wood to one of your burn slots. When adding wood to an empty burn slot, place a wood tracking card in your burn slot and rotate it so the wood icons on the top side of the card match the wood value on the card you're using to add the wood. You can also add wood to a burn slot that already has wood in it to increase its wood value. However, each burn slot can only hold 4 wood maximum, and any additional wood added in excess of 4 is lost. You can also add wood to one of your existing fires. When you do that, you're going to rotate the fire card clockwise to increase the fire's burn time by the amount shown on the wood icon. And an active fire can only have a maximum burn time of 4. And then once you've played the card to add wood to a burn slot, you'll discard it. The second way you can use a card is to light a fire in a burn slot you control that already has some wood in it. When lighting a fire, flip the wood card over to its fire side so that the top shows fire icons equal to the wood total. And once you've used a card to light a fire, discard it. The third way you can use a card is to place it face down above an active fire that you control, begin burning it for points. The yellow coin icon indicates the points you'll score from successfully burning the card to completion. It also indicates the minimum fire strength or burn time that's required to add a card to an active fire. So for example, a card with a 2-point icon value cannot be placed in a fire with only 1 burn time. Also, it's worth mentioning that each active fire you control can only hold 1 burning card on it at a time. The fourth way you can use a card is to play its ability. When playing a card's ability, play it face up, choose a target, and then resolve the card's effect before moving it to the discard pile. And be sure to give your opponent the opportunity to play any instant abilities they may choose to use to try to counter it before you discard the card. Also, it's worth mentioning that card abilities come in 2 flavors. Card abilities that are marked as an instant can be played for free by any player during any action phase, whereas normal ability cards can only be played during your own action phase, and they cost an action to play them. In Hot Garbage, it's very likely that when you play an ability, your opponent may try to counter it with an instant, at which point you might even play instants of your own to try to counter their instants, and so on and so forth. When volleys of abilities and instants stack up this way, they're resolved in reverse order, with the last card that's played taking effect first. So to briefly recap, each card has 4 potential uses. You can add wood to a burn slot or active fire you control. You can ignite a fire in a burn slot you control that has wood in it. You can place a card in an active fire you control to begin burning it for points. Or you can play a basic ability on your turn or an instant or counter ability on any player's turn for free during the action phase. So now that you have a sense of how each card can be used, let's look at the flow of gameplay. Each player's turn is made up of 3 phases. There's the fire upkeep phase, followed by the action phase, and then the cleanup phase. Let's go over each one of these in a bit more detail. The first thing you'll do at the start of your turn is the fire upkeep phase. If you have any active fires in your burn slots, rotate each fire card 90 degrees counterclockwise, reducing its burn time by 1 point. If a fire burns down below 1 burn time, that fire is burnt out naturally, and you'll remove the fire card from the burn slot and set it aside. When this happens, if you happen to have a burning card placed face down above that fire, you will also reveal the card, score it, and discard it before clearing the burn slot. Some abilities also forcibly extinguish a fire before they've naturally burnt out. So if you have a burning card above a fire that gets extinguished, that card is discarded and doesn't get scored. It's also worth noting that during the fire upkeep phase, no abilities can be played by either player. Then there's the action phase. The action phase is where the bulk of the gameplay happens on a given turn. During your action phase, you can take up to 3 actions in any combination of the following. You can draw a card, and there's a maximum hand size of 5 cards. You can discard a card that you don't want, and then draw a card. You can play a card from your hand in one of the 4 ways that I mentioned before. Or you can just pass and end your turn at any time. Then it moves on to the cleanup phase. Once you're done, you'll end your turn and draw back up to 5 cards. No further abilities can be played by anyone once a player ends their turn. And then there's one more thing to add at the start of the game, and that's the first turn ceasefire rule. On the first player's turn, their opponent may not play any instant cards unless they are the target of an ability played by the first player. This ceasefire ends at the start of the second player's turn, or if they are targeted by an ability during the first player's turn. And that's hot garbage. The first player to score 10 points or more is the winner. Thanks for watching.